Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for All About Android is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life, and that's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/Android. And by FreshBooks, the easy-to-use cloud accounting software for small business owners. You can try it for free for 30 days at freshbooks.com/AAA. Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode number 359, recorded on Tuesday, March 6th, 2018. We're your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Florence Ion.
We got there. How y'all doing?
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
It's
People.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. We missed you last week, Ron.
I missed you last week. I was at a little staycation. I was in Brooklyn, but I thought of you guys on Tuesday night. So
Three nights of rock and roll is basically where
Three nights of rock and roll. Sometimes you got to do it. But
Brooklyn. I mean, that's rock and roll in and of itself. But 3 nights of rock and roll in the place known as rock and roll, otherwise known as Brooklyn. Cool. It's great to have you back, man. I hope that your ears have recovered. Joining us, it's been a while, and we're always thrilled to get him. Michael Fisher, also known as Mr. Mobile, with no dot after the Mr.
Correct. Thank you for respecting the style guide. I really appreciate it. That's one thing. Let myself off right here.
We don't want to look foolish bringing Mr. Mobile on, so we leave the dot off to show you that we're attentive to detail.
Appreciate that. ATD.
We will not punctuate the sentence with your name in it.
Yeah.
Most F. No, don't put that right in the middle there. I came from a gray Barcelona to a gray Boston, but I'm hanging out with y'all, so there's a little sunshine in my life today.
Oh,
thank you for having me.
We bring the light to your life, don't we?
So nice.
Don't we?
Yes.
We certainly do try.
God, yes.
A little too hard. We try sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But
Definitely.
cool. Well, you mentioned Mobile World Congress. I mean, last week we had our episode talking about all the things, and oh boy, there were a lot of things announced at Mobile World Congress. It kind of gave us a little bit of a Mobile World Congress hangover. So we're going to maybe talk about our hangover. Michael, you were actually there when we talk about it. I'm sure you might actually have hangover stories.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We'll talk about that a little bit, kind of our thoughts post-script. Also, the Google I.O. schedule is out now. You can take a look. Things are a little different this year. We'll talk about that. Google Clips, we've got it in-house. 50% of us have used Google Clips enough to formulate an opinion about it. The other 50% of us are confused as far as why we need one.
Or saving $250.
Yeah. See,
$280
we all
after
win.
tax.
Planet Computers, Gemini, and Cat S61 or 61, depending on how you like to pronounce that. First look, because Michael, you have both of those.
I do. I have one of them. I've played with both.
You played with both. Okay, good. Tasker has a new owner. Someone was kicking the tires.
Oh my gosh.
Picked up a Tasker.
Uh-oh.
And a whole lot more. Before we jump into it, we're going to do things a little different this week. I know normally we do the Oreo tasting at the end. Today we're doing it in the show. So those of you who hate this, skip forward about 3 minutes. The reason being because apparently today is it's a holiday. Today, Nabisco, and this day in history, Nabisco unveiled the Oreo for the very first time. That's the ad campaign.
National Biscuit Co.
I'm confused.
How did they know what year is it? 1912?
1912.
That when Android would be called Oreo in 2018, that it should be on a Tuesday so we could celebrate it all about Android.
They just knew. They knew.
Yeah. They know us. That's
Stars
the thing.
aligned.
The PR flacks in 1912 knew what they were doing. So,
did anyone else look up how many years prior to this Hydrox cookies came about? Because I totally did.
Well, okay, do you know the answer?
I do.
Oh, when?
1908.
Yep.
4 years.
Oh, a knockoff brand. I see.
Yeah. No, but the knockoff, that's the point, right? This is one of my weirdest, most irritating pieces of party trivia.
Yep.
Is that Hydrox, beat them to the punch, and yet we all think Hydrox is the knockoff. It's such a disservice. to
It's
the
so
originators
fascinating to
of the
look
sandwich cookie.
at brands from the early 1900s and how they evolved to modern times, because that's absolutely Hydrox was first, and yet they didn't make it. So
Right.
Is it
not only did they not make it, but they're the butt of all of our jokes for being the people who ripped off Oreo. But that is not true.
okay? But show of hands, who has eaten a Hydrox cookie anytime in the last 30 years?
I totally have.
Really?
East Coasters.
Totally
And
have.
so
Absolutely.
okay, so if you have and you had to compare it to an Oreo, like, is it better or worse?
Vastly inferior.
Inferior.
Oreo's way better. Oreo's way better.
So quality of product wins in this case.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know if you know this, but Nabisco stands for National Biscuit Company.
I didn't know that until I read it here, and I think that's great.
They know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
They are the National Biscuit Company. When the government sat down and said, "Listen, we need an official biscuit company," they tapped the people at National Biscuit Company to do it. So
Who's going to speak up for the biscuits, huh? Who will be the voice of the biscuit?
Yep.
National Biscuit Company, of course. And speaking of National Biscuit Company,
Not exactly, but close.
voice. Yeah, I don't know if it really went down that way. I have a very unique flavor here. Waffles and syrup
gonna be
Oreo.
interesting.
wow.
You ever heard of this one? I don't know if I have because I ordered them, but prior to that, I hadn't. Waffles and syrup Oreo. I
That's
think
crazy town.
I think it kind of sounds a little gross. Automatically, I'm very impressed because the cookies are in a single piece.
And
They're
this is
not
an Amazon
crumbled.
box?
This is all Amazon. I had to go Amazon for a lot of these flavors. Here you go. The sharks are circling. So we'll go ahead and open it because you got to see the inside.
Wow,
a little
these smell potent.
maple
these smell
thumbprint.
like-
Look at that. That's a little double filling action.
Do you guys remember the honey crisp cereal? It was like a honey cereal. It smells like that.
Honeycrisp. Yeah, okay.
Honeycomb cereal.
Honeycombs, okay.
It was a 90s
They're all
staple.
like Nilla wafers because that's what they look like.
I love a
Very-
good
No,
very
Vienna
strong
fingers, not
maple
Nilla wafers.
flavoring.
Nilla fingers. I remember those. Okay, so I'm gonna take a bite and move the microphone.
All right, waffles and
Wow,
syrup.
those-
So I would expect some sort of maple-like flavoring. Jason has a perplexed face as he chews off mic, so that our audio listeners don't have to hear him chewing.
That's waffles.
Does it feel like Brecht Waffle House
It's
Oreos?
waffles.
Really?
It's Eggo waffles is what it is.
It tastes like it.
Eggo
I don't know if it
waffles
works for
with
me though.
Aunt Jemima's syrup.
Is that something you want in your mouth?
That's the question week in and week out on this show.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, you gotta like maple. If you like maple, you're probably gonna like this because it's definitely the maple flavored Oreo, if that makes sense.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I like these way better than anything with like a cinnamon and cream or.
Okay.
These are okay
All right.
because I really enjoy maple flavoring, and I'm actually a waffle connoisseur myself. I eat waffles
Ooh.
often for breakfast.
Are you the president of the Waffle Fan Club? This is the Sacramento chapter?
No, I don't live in Sacramento.
Same
Well,
thing.
you should so that you could say that you are. I will say, give me a nice cup of hot coffee.
Oh my
little
gosh,
cream,
those would be so-
and dip these in the
yes.
coffee.
Wow.
These would be.
These
bomb.
are it. No, I
Yeah.
agree. So what
All
would
right,
we give them?
so hang on. So this calls for 2 ratings, Jason. Ratings for the cookie by itself,
Okay.
and then ratings with a cup of coffee.
Well, I haven't had it with a cup of coffee. I can only guess, but I can speculate that it would probably work really well with a cup of coffee. I'd give
Yeah,
it
it
probably
would.
like an 8.5 with coffee, 6 without.
Okay.
That would be my
Hello?
rating.
I give these a 7. I would bring them home and eat them.
Yeah.
What about with coffee?
Oh yeah, definitely. I do have a
need it-
secret stash of Oreos at home right now that I maybe dip into my coffee that maybe nobody knows about. So
We need a number, Flo. We need a number.
yeah, I give 7.
But what about with coffee?
Oh, 7.5. 'Cause
Okay.
coffee makes
Marginally
everything-
better if there's
Coffee makes
coffee involved.
everything
I'm just
marginally
creating-
better.
I'm just creating work for the wiki. That's all I'm doing now.
Oh
You are.
yeah.
I knew you were doing that.
Thank you.
And Rev Dan S. Pumpkin in the chat room proposes that the title of the show be, "Is that something you want in your mouth?"
That's
You
not
do not
good
want
SEO.
silicone chips in your mouth.
Fair.
They taste really mercury-ish.
All right.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. I want to savor the maple. All right. It's time, Victor. It's your moment to shine. It's time for the news.
Here's something that's not easily knocked off. Here's Android News.
That's right. There's only one Android news. You can't knock this off. Even if you try and counterfeit our news.
There's no possible way.
Yeah, you try and notch our news, it's not going to work.
Never going to happen.
Because you just don't know what's going to come out of our mouths.
It's true.
Exactly.
So speaking of matching our news, the big news is here we are in March, and our good friend of the show, Ev Leaks, confirmed on Twitter that we're going to see the Android Pie dev preview #1 sometime around mid-March. And you know what's around mid-March?
Mm-hmm.
March 14th. You know what March 14th is?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people's
Pie
birthdays.
Pie Day.
Oh, yes,
Day.
and Pie Day.
And pie is a dessert, and P is a letter. That is the version of Android. You know, who knows? Maybe we'll get an early name announcement on March 14th. But we'll get to that in a moment. But we got some more details about Android P as it's emerging. Android P is going to restrict non-public APIs, which is interesting. And that means that unofficially supported APIs in the Android SDK won't be available for developers to use in third-party apps. It will begin to slowly edge out dev access to those APIs to give devs time to migrate to official APIs. It won't affect apps already using an unofficial API until the dev moves to a new API level. So current apps shouldn't be affected, just going forward. Interesting that the graphic there, by the way, is pancakes with syrup.
I was pointing at it in real life.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's insane.
There's a theme going on here.
Yeah. Oh, listen to this. Android P will also support the Bluetooth HID device profile natively. Love that Bluetooth support. This is support for things using the Android device as a touchscreen input device for other device via Bluetooth. So it's a pretty robust update to Bluetooth. So first off, do you think they'll announce that it's Android Pie on March 14th? Michael Fisher.
Do I think that the name will be Pie, or do I think that the announcement will happen on the 14th, or both? Or
both.
either? Both. Yes. No, I think
Yes.
we'll get something on the 14th. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like pancakes is more fun. I feel like I would really like to be surprised. I would like some pecan pie, make it something just a little bit more Flavor Town worthy. I don't know. We'll get something on the 14th, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to see something like, I mean, the stars are aligning on this one, and this seems like ripe for the picking for Google to have something come out on the 14th. It's the right time of year compared to last year. It starts with a letter P. Pie is delicious. Do I think that's going to be the official name of the next version of Android? No, but I think it's a great way for them to launch the dev preview or the alpha or whatever it ends up being, saying, hey, and almost in Google's way, which they love to do, kind of ribbing you along and saying, hey, we're launching on Pi Day. No correlation at all, wink, wink. So I think we'll see it on Pi Day, but I don't think it'll ultimately be Android Pie. That's my guess.
What do you think?
I guess I agree with you guys.
Good.
I mean, listen, this is the company that hides names in its source code, all right?
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to,
Who knows?
can't even I just am pleasantly surprised when little things happen. Then I go, that's cute. That's why I use Android.
I mean, if it ends up...
I'm going to go out there on a limb and say it will be called Pie, and they will announce it on March 14th. So there you go. We got all the ends of the spectrum covered.
Do you think this will be the first year where they're way in advance? They go, it's Android Pie. That's it. You now know the name. We're not,
I think we should start doing things like that, honestly, because there's a lot going on in the world, and we need to know the names of future software coming out.
It's the most important thing in the world right now is knowing the name of the software.
We got to stop holding down secrets. We have to stop with all this, lack of transparency. Let's just be honest about what's going on, be out in the open, and just embrace each other and our values.
Just embrace the pie.
I'm trying to say, is there a branded candy like that? I would prefer it be called.
We don't really have that in the West Coast, by the way.
No, you don't. Yeah, I know.
That's an East Coast.
Come over here. We've got rain and snow all the time, and the greatest seltzer in the world. It's a nice.
We have no rain ever, just drought and expensive water bills.
So we're all doing great.
So what do you guys make of these API changes and Bluetooth stuff? I mean, is this enough to get you in to install this dev preview on a device,
No.
Jason?
No. Oh, sorry.
I will absolutely install this on a device. I don't know what device it's going to be, but yeah, absolutely.
Probably
we got to show
Pixel
it off
only,
on the show.
I'd imagine it's Pixel or
it's some of their later.
Depending on the track record of the last couple of years, it'll probably be Pixel only. But I waited last year on Oreo, and I was perfectly fine with that.
Yeah,
I was very happy on waiting.
Yeah, I wasn't living on the alpha when it first was announced. I think I found an extra device and installed it on there so that I knew.
But I didn't even install it. It was fine. Everybody else wrote about it, so I got all my information that way. and I didn't have to deal with any buggy software, or I didn't have to like acclimate to these new things before they were ready. So I'm okay with waiting. But I know for developers, getting those apps up it's a really special thing to have like your app on, software launch day. Yeah. It's good.
But if it is Pi Day, do you realize like we have like a week? Like we have a week and then we'll know about Android P. If that is the case. True. Regardless, it's sometime this month. Mid-month is what AvLeak said. So really any day now. So that's something to get excited about, I guess, because then we'll know. Flo, you know what else we know about?
Or what else we can get excited about.
Yes. Okay, good. Even better.
We can get excited about the Google I.O. schedule, which is the official schedule is making the rounds. People are starting to get their official invites too. Yeah. So we kind of already know who's going, who's going to be there. So the first keynote can be expected Tuesday, May 8th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So block out your Google Cals. Tell your family you're not talking to anybody during that time because you're going to be sitting down with the rest of us watching to see what Google's going to announce on May 8th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, daylight time by then.
Yeah, and then they've got the second one. So I can't remember. Last year, I feel like the second keynote and sessions were happening concurrently, right? Right? Maybe I'm wrong.
Last year, I could have sworn the second session started way after lunch so that people had time to eat. Oh, okay. Because this year, the second keynote's starting at 12:45 p.m., which I'm assuming is the developer-centric keynote that they usually have for those who want to learn more. But I could be wrong. It also feels like last year was years ago. So, things are very muddled.
Lots happening here.
There are going to be sessions on sweetening Android Kotlin development.
Yeah, there's a few different sessions on Kotlin.
Which is going to be
sweet Kotlin. Sweet Kotlin.
It's true. That would be a fun little gag candy, by the way, to pass out. There's 3 sessions on AR and VR development, which I have to say AR and VR seems to have been pretty off the radar since we've entered the new year. Yeah. Not really,
we're hearing about AR definitely more than VR, right? Like the lens
embedded in cameras.
The stickers, the AR stickers. People were getting excited about those. I mean, maybe excited is the wrong word. I don't know.
They were exciting.
People were mentioning that they exist.
Summon up excitement, with regard to that nonsense.
Ron, beginning on our birthdays and on May 10th, they're going to have device pickup times listed. So
what would be a wonderful birthday present would be picking up a device at Google I.O.
No kidding. Google, you shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have.
On my birthday? Thanks.
And Android Fireside Chat, which they have annually as well.
Yeah. Always look forward to that.
More is going to be added. I mean, we're literally in like the beginning stages of Google I.O. planning. More stuff is usually added throughout the months leading up to it. Way more stuff is added like hours before the keynote, hours after the keynote. Right. All these things are kind of like, shoved. Really, any conference is not 100% guaranteed until like not even the day it's supposed to happen, People drop out of things, technology changes.
Well, and a lot of it's planned, too. They know that they're going to make announcements that they can't reveal the sessions on ahead of time because that would reveal their announcements, what's coming in Android
Or what if
P
something just dissipates into thin air? All that. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. That's actually bad juju to put out into the world.
What would dissipate into thin air?
Just like code.
Oh.
Sorry, bad.
Well, I suppose that could
I gotta
happen.
burn some sage tonight. We're not putting that into the world.
But there is a big difference this year. The really big difference. Is the fact that it's it's the same week as your birthdays.
Yes.
So that's
the same
different.
day.
Yeah. And then B, that it's earlier in the week. The first day of Google I/O is a Tuesday. You know what that means?
It's the
this
same
show is the same day as the keynote. So,
how are we going to do that?
Well, we got things to figure out. I'm working on it behind the scenes. We're working on it. But Flo and I are going to be there at the event. So,
you know what would be really cool is if I could go too.
Wait a minute.
No, I'm not announcing it.
Hey.
I'm just thinking it would be fun. It would be fun to be there. So
I say we just
my
linger.
gosh.
I say
Rod and
we
I
just
could
linger
have-
on this for a second
Rod and I
to
could have a
punctuate
joint
it.
birthday party.
That would be cool.
My life would
if
be
Rod
complete.
could go to Google I/O.
Rod and I could have a birthday party.
It
Could have a
would-
little picnic on a blanket on the lawn. Could broadcast
Ooh.
nicely there.
It would
That
be
would be
I was
lovely.
thinking to rent out the Google employees' favorite club in downtown Mountain View. Just kidding. We're not going to.
I will say,
Oh, I know that place. Don't do that.
I will say that the whole event is a short drive away to a near In-N-Out, which is enough to get me down.
Okay. I thought you were going to say a short drive from where you are right now. And I was
no,
going to
no,
say,
I
no,
was-
it
I
is
was-
not.
Oh, it is not.
I'm just thinking of the In-N-Out on Rensdorf or Ren. What is that road? Rensdorf on Mountain View. It's right by the Costco. Anyway,
My Mountain
Who
View
knows?
knowledge is lacking, obviously.
we have 2 months. I'll keep an eye on flights. Maybe we'll do that. We'll see.
Let's see what we
Well.
can do.
Work
Yeah.
on it.
So that's one event. The other event that maybe we're recovering from at this point is Mobile World Congress. I was not there. Well, none of the three of us were there, but Michael, you were. So
I was.
you probably got a little headache because you know of all the Hemon that you ingested.
Oh yeah. Large sodium headache. Is
Yeah.
what's going
Oh, I
on
know what
there.
that's like.
Yeah, like in the rear view, you were there amidst the craziness and the fun. What are your thoughts post MWC with your hangover?
With my hangover. Yeah, it's funny because all the immediate physical consequences have passed, and now I'm just dealing with this, being at about 30% of my usual energy level for the couple days following.
Yep.
Here's the thing. MWC is seldom a disappointment, right? I feel like CES can kind of be, it can be up and down depending on what weird thing shows up. And IFA, largely depending on whether Samsung shows up to IFA, that's the thing. But MWC, there's always something either weird or major or some combination of the two. And this year it was a combination of the two. And I had one fewer day on the ground than I normally do, so it was a little more hectic than usual. It was, in fact, so hectic that on my last day in town, I packed up what I thought was my last meeting on the floor. I was like, all right, good to talk to you guys. I'll see you later. Got on the train and didn't realize until I was halfway back to the apartment on the train that I just totally forgot about another thing I was supposed to see. And they were waiting for me. I'm like, oh, gee, what a jerk. And sent a bunch of apologies, But it was that exhausting. And for me, I had such a ball because there was so much fun stuff to see. As you talked about all last week. On the show I would like to have joined you for, but I'm glad I didn't because it was 3 a.m. in Barcelona. Yeah. And that sounded, woof.
Well, Daniel Tyson from
say.
Ostroid.
What a champ.
He went ahead and took one for the team.
He rallied. He rallied hard.
He actually slept before waking up at that time to do the show and then went back to sleep. So
great.
We are forever indebted to him. But we appreciate you coming on after the fact in requiring your sleep and all that kind of stuff. Whatever that is. Well, you've had the S9 now for a week. What do you think?
I have. I think it's a really difficult device to encapsulate when you're talking to other people in the industry, right? Because we're all kind of like, it's an S8. I mean, it's really, there's no, it's a talk year or a tick year. I can never remember which of those it is, but it's an S year, I'm glad the fingerprint sensor's in the right place, but all these little like multi-millimeter little adjustments were like, it feels a little thicker, seems a little faster. Until, you dive into what the major change really is, which is the camera. And I almost couldn't be happier with all of the modifications Samsung has decided to make to the camera. I think, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Almost?
Yeah, because, the crazy thing is when you compare it to, say, the S8, the improvements are huge. They're dramatic. They're massive. I'm talking about the camera. But when you're sitting in a cafe, as I just did today, and you just kind of take a no-brainer selfie, and then you take that same shot with the Pixel 2. I mean, Google it seems to me in no time, has just come from behind to be this incredible camera platform, the Pixel particularly because of all this computational stuff. And as much as Samsung is genuinely bringing to the fight this year, we can talk about the slow-mo, we can talk about the 12 exposures into one and this variable aperture amazing stuff. As for all that stuff, I feel like maybe when my review goes up, I'm gonna still have to come to the conclusion that I am not going to put down my Pixel 2 for this. And that's weird when you look at how much is packed into the S9's camera.
Yeah, and how much they doubled down on this as being the signature kind of key component of why S9. I mean, they really kind of based a lot, most of their promotional kind of push around that camera. But I mean, you're absolutely right, man. The pictures that come out of the Pixel, all of that computational stuff that's happening, that prior to what we've seen with the Pixel in the last year or so, I would have said, oh, yeah, everybody says they can make things better with software, but I don't believe it. I don't buy it because, anytime they make those promises, it never really kind of proves itself. The proof isn't really in the pudding, but I feel like that is the case with the Pixel. So that's a huge statement as far as, Samsung's actual built-in hardware.
And that was the big question during the presentation. Father Robert and I were doing the live stream of it, and at the end when we did kind of our breakdown, we're like, okay, this is all great and this presentation is interesting, but let's get our hands on it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what the results are, and basically, will it be able to topple the Pixel 2?
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, I feel like you have to take it holistically, right? Where it's like there is so much additional functionality just built into the S9 out of the box. By the way, almost every time I've tried to say S9, I've said S8, which is probably my problem, not a Samsung problem. But, between the 4K HDR recording and the telephoto for whatever that's worth in proper lighting, and this super slow-mo mode, which I do adore, and I have since Sony did it first, it is, I think, a really, really excellent camera. I think the fact that it doesn't necessarily hold up to the Pixel in all circumstances says a lot more about the Pixel than it does about the S9. Because if the Pixel didn't exist, this is probably the one I'd pick. Yeah, that's pretty great stuff, isn't it?
Well, it looks good
that
with all
shot
that
is
lighting.
pretty incredible.
I have to say, it looks. It's really nice that the S9 can produce those kind of that kind of clarity in studio quality lighting. I like to see that.
Okay, so super duper duper slow mo, if that's what you want to call this, because that's kind of what it is.
Yeah,
is neat. It's a really cool showpiece. How often are you actually recording super duper duper slow mo stuff beyond the first few times that you're like, well, it's cool that I can do this? Like it's that kind of thing that you hardly ever use, though, right? Or I feel like, I don't know if I ever do.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. Did you have a chance to play with the XZ Premium?
No.
Is that what it was called last summer? The Sony? Yeah.
No,
so
not
like
the Sony one.
If you didn't have that, or you don't have this, then you will spend 0% of your time shooting at 1,000 frames a second, right? But when you get it, and I think a large percentage of people will play with it a couple times and forget it's there, because you do need to be in these certain circumstances. You need to have all the light in the world. But when you experience the kind of crazy time travel that this makes possible, I mean, it really is something. It's a phone camera feature that I haven't been as excited about anything like this in quite a while. So yeah, I think it's great.
And I wonder what if any response Google will have to that on the in the next Pixel round.
They have to. I mean, on the day before our birthday, I'm sure we'll find out, or they'll do something to respond to, because I/O isn't normally a hardware event, but they're gonna have some response to this and do something to even plus the Pixel 2 even more from what it is, maybe from a software base or photos or whatnot.
It's a machine learning event, so it's probably going to be another machine learning kick. See, Samsung doesn't have the machine learning that we do because we've been working on this for eons, and so we've got the market cornered on this. Why would you trust anybody else?
Yeah, and I would not have been interested in those panels necessarily in the past. It hasn't really been my bag, but like using the Pixel 2 for however long it's been out, 6 months, has demonstrated it repeatedly to me that I mean, hardware is a lot of fun, and you can still do great stuff with camera hardware and smartphones, but the development for now is in software, the crazy stuff, as you were saying, Chase.
Yeah.
You know, my friends, even the iPhone using ones, have started to say to me, Flo, you should take the group picture. Your phone takes the best photos.
What?
Ooh. Hey.
That's right, it does.
Well, I mean, and I can speak, well, I won't speak for Megan, but I heard her mention quite a few times when we were doing the Switch this last time. I had the iPhone 10. She had the Pixel 2
I got
XL.
that feeling, yeah.
That she loved the camera. She was super impressed with the camera. So it's no longer... Like, I feel like there was this transitional period a few years ago where where people who were really into Android phones were like, yeah, but my camera's pretty good too. It's really good. We've been there probably for the last year at least. We're now at that point where as Android users, we're pretty used to the fact that the cameras on our premium top tier phones can hold a candle to any of the competition's cameras.
And I have to,
and this is just the way it is.
I just want to add that the lack, or rather not the lack, but the brevity of features. So the fact that the features that are included on the camera are just the concise few that you would use most often, which is panorama, portrait. I mean, those are the two that I use most often on a phone.
I never use panorama.
Not even for beautiful landscape photos. Look at all the hills surrounding us here. There's
Google has done really good job on the stitching of those things too. But that has always been kind of the challenge for me. Is like
you need more hill pictures.
You end up looking at it on a desktop and you're like, yeah, it looked really cool on my small little screen. But then when I blow it up, that's a little weird.
I've become a Google Maps contributor. I've become one of those people.
Wow.
Who answers questions?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I do that too. That's local guides. I do that too. I love that. When I'm standing waiting for the subway and it's like, hey, does this place have a bathroom? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it good to bring kids? No. And I love it.
I try to help out, the nail salon by posting, my nails. So I'll take a little photo and put it there.
I just answer questions. Yeah.
You don't post the picture of your nails when you're at the nail salon, Ron? Come on.
I'm not always happy with the work.
Okay. All right. Well. You don't want to denigrate. I understand. Cool. So, I don't know. Do we have anything else to say about Mobile World Congress in the past as our hangover burns off? Ron, were you impressed with any of the news coming out of Mobile World Congress?
Yes and no. I mean, not really. I mean, I thought it was what I always like to see is what makes it out of Mobile World Congress into the rest of the world, right? And so seeing the reaction to the notch phones, the iPhone X kind of knockoffs, like that actually popped up in publications and in feeds and in conversations from people who didn't expect it to. So like for me, that was, aside from the Samsung announcement, that was the other big story coming out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And people, there was a very visceral reaction of, oh, seriously, this is the bridge too far and Android, devices are now putting the notch in there. That's so characteristically an iPhone 10 sort of thing. Why are they doing that? It's all about copying. I don't know if it necessarily is all about copying, though.
But here's the thing. I think it's definitely for the phone.
To a certain degree.
For the phone in question, it is absolutely make it look like the iPhone. Like I believe that 100%, right? Mm-hmm. But what I find hysterical is that the greater, like I say, like to call them the normals, the mainstream media sees that and goes, oh, look at that. Android phones are copying the iPhone. When iPhone copied Android both on the operating system level as well as the notch even existing, right? I mean, so it's just very funny to see the narrative get played out in the Apple reality distortion field. And I'm not complaining about Apple. I'm not complaining about iPhones. It's more about the mainstream coverage of consumer electronics and the deference that is given to Apple in these situations. I just find hysterical. It's very funny.
Yeah. Preach.
So. Yeah, but at the same time, I just had a Twitter interaction before I came on this show where I was like, I'm seeing a lot of this story weaved where it's like somehow because the Essential phone with its tiny pencil eraser of a widow's peak dot predated the iPhone 10 by 5 months. Like somehow Apple is in fact the one who stole the notch idea. None of these narratives are at all accurate. But like when you see as I think you were saying, Ron, maybe the Zenfone 5, is that what we were talking about?
Yep.
Probably.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and you're like from the camera orientation to the fit and finish and all this. Yes, it's a very clear iPhone 10 clone, but just the dimensions of this trapezoidal notch and Ace is calling to everyone's attention just how much smaller its notch is than Apple's and all this. And it's just like, what if companies would stop doing this blatantly, then Android enthusiasts like us could have a little bit of a break. But when we're looking at all the leaks now between, I guess, LG and I saw a couple leaks from other companies, and it's just, oh, this is going to be the year of the notch. Great. Well, I sort of didn't mind it on the 10, and all of these look really ugly on all the things I'm seeing. So I'm just, I'm going to skip this year.
We're just going to all use a Pixel. We'll be fine.
Until the Pixel gets a notch.
The funny thing is, though, is that guaranteed.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Mark the date, March 6th. I'm predicting it. Apple, if they're going to skip 9 and they're just going to, the next phone is going to be 11 or whatever it is, down the road, Apple will announce a phone that is able to incorporate the camera without a notch and be heralded because they took the notch away.
Yeah. We should get our pictures of the Xiaomi Mi Mix ready for that, or the Sharp Aquos Crystal, or start stockpiling.
Yep. Anyway.
All right, cool. I think we touched on the hot button issues from Mobile World Congress mostly. There were others, but that's hot button, as hot button as you're going to get. Let's take a break and thank the sponsor of this episode, and then we'll get into some new hardware, hands-on, and all that kind of stuff that we've got in the studio. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage, by Quicken Loans. The mortgage process, the whole experience, it can be a little complicated. You know, there are a lot of pieces of information that you have to pull in order to set up a mortgage. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and we live in a digital age where things have just been made so much easier because of it. And as far as this process was concerned, it was dated. It needed a client-focused technological revolution. It needed to leverage what we have and make it easier, and that's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage gives you the confidence that you need when it comes to buying a home, or even if you happen to be refinancing your existing home loan, you can do that too. It's simple. It allows you to fully understand all the details and be confident that you're getting the right mortgage for you. It's convenient. Their trusted partners allow you to share your financial information with Rocket Mortgage at the touch of a button. So they're making it super easy for you. It's powerful. Whether you're looking to buy your first home or your 10th, Rocket Mortgage is able to perform thousands of calculations in seconds based on your income, your assets, your credit. Rocket Mortgage can analyze all of the home loan options for which you qualify and then find the one that's just right for you. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. To get started, all you have to do is go to rocketmortgage.com/Android. That's rocketmortgage.com/Android. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support of this show. And now we've got some pretty awesome hardware to talk about in the segment called Hardware. Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It's like we have a segment that's for these things that we talk about that are hardware. So, all right. So, Michael, we'll start with the Cat S61. Was this announced at Mobile World Congress? Or what's the deal?
I think
with
it was either at MWC or immediately before.
Okay.
And yeah, no one could blame you for being a little confused because it's a somewhat minor upgrade over its predecessor, the S60, which was the one that sort of got a little more buzz last year because it was the first phone with an integrated thermal camera.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
for all of us needing a thermal camera on our phone.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. and I think I had meant to get around to the S60 last year and it didn't. It was just, it's too busy and whatever. This is a very niche thing. And it's also one of these situations where it's like Caterpillar, the tractor company, does not make smartphones, right? They have a company called Bullet make them for them and kind of put their name on it. And that's always for me, that's always a cause for, a little bit of like a 20% reduction in interest right off the top. Right. But it turns out that Bullet, so I stopped by anyway, because I heard this phone has a laser on it, the S61.
There's freaking laser beams?
There's freaking laser beams. That's all you need, really. And I swung by, and it turns out that Bullet has been making these phones for Cat for 8 years. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize there was that much of a legacy behind these things. And they go on to start talking about how rugged they are and how they double certify them for IP and mil-spec and all this stuff. I'm like, that's cool. They've always been rugged and durable, but you kind of run in like a MediaTek thing, right? They're like, no, it's the Snapdragon 6 something. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And it's just got the thermal camera. Well, no, it's got a better thermal camera. Oh, okay. And what's this on the back? Well, that's a laser. And okay, why? And it's a measuring. It's like a measuring tape, right? It's like when we had the Project Tango phones, and you'd point it at stuff, and you'd be like, okay, the window is 6.2 meters from the side of your bed, so you can put this piece of furniture here. But this is even simpler. It just shines a dot, and the optics see the dot, and it performs some kind of crazy algorithmic thing based on the size of the dot, and it gives you a really precise measurement. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. What are these holes on the casing? Oh, that's where the air quality sensor is. What? every 30 seconds, it polls the air and determines if there's volatile organic compounds. Like if you're, varnishing a floor, and it gives you an alert if you are not breathing in any, safe quantities of that stuff. Wow. So it's just like tour de force of contractor / electrician / like rough and tumble, get your hands dirty jobs, skills packed into this phone that's actually not as crappy as I thought it was going to be. And then I even hit them with the old, but it's never going to get updated, right? And they're like, yeah, we're guaranteeing Android P. Like, wow, you guys are like building an okay phone. Good for you. So then I played with it for 2 hours and I had a lot of fun. Now I want to review it.
And were you just rubbing glue over those sensors to make?
It was this like highlighter they had that didn't. It's just apparently a really nasty fumy marker.
Your phone was huffing apparently.
Yeah. Indeed.
That's dangerous. Interesting. So I mean, obviously, this is a phone that's for a very specific.
Yes.
It's for industry, let's say. It's for people who work in very particular industries. So it's not for everyone. Like, why would we need a laser pointer? But it's nice to know that from what I can tell anyways, and from what you're saying, a quality Android phone is being built around these things. I feel like so many times, like we've seen these things, they do interesting things, but as a phone, as just like a straight up Android phone, it's lacking in many other ways. Sure, it's specialized in one way or another, but when you get down to the core, it's just not a very good phone. It seems like this might actually be a different story.
Exactly. That was the kind of the crux of the pleasant surprise at the heart of this thing that had me start to take it seriously very early in my hands-on. And they announced a price point. It's $999. I mean, it's almost the same as you paid for a Note 8 or an iPhone 10, but like. I mean, it's so impossible to destroy by any means, I can readily think of. And they seem to have thought of everything that could possibly be a hang up or an irritation to the target customer. I was so impressed when I didn't necessarily expect to be from a company that's essentially doing this branded work. By the way, these are the same guys that do the Land Rover phone and the Kodak phone. Neither of which I have any experience with, but they seem to have a specialized skill for these little niche lines of devices.
Nice. So, all right. Of all the brands that I have any sort of actual hands-on experience with, I can safely say that Caterpillar is not a brand that I've ever spent any time with. And
if I have one by IO, I'll bring it out.
What did you say?
I was going to ask, did you spend time inside of a... Sorry.
Sorry, Flo.
I was just making a silly comment about if you've ever been in a tractor before.
I have, but I never modified it, so that I think I stayed out of trouble. Okay.
Was it a John Deere? Is that why?
Yeah. Ooh. Actually, I used to own a John Deere riding lawnmower.
Oh, my gosh.
Are we really going here?
All right.
Do we need to dive into my past? Okay, it was a John Deere, okay?
Sometimes I forget that you're a little bit of a bumpkin. I love you, but you're a little bit of a bumpkin. So.
I've got bumpkin in me. Yeah, it's true. I'm kind of wearing a bumpkin shirt today. Sure, why not?
Yeah. It's part of your charm. It's part of your charm, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ron. And we should all strive to have John Deere riding lawnmowers because when I was a kid, I loved to mow the lawn.
How else are you going to drive a car somewhere?
Same.
Use a lawnmower.
It was a blast. It was like I got to drive a car before I could drive, and then happened to cut the grass along the way. Anyways,
so they get you.
Yeah, exactly. We've got other cool hardware to talk about. Flo, you've been playing around with the Google Clips camera.
I've literally been playing around with it. I've been doing nothing but playing around with it. Look how small this thing is. Look how cute it is. Look how cute this color is. By the way,
it's kind of matches the curtains.
It's a little teal color, actually. Yeah. It's not green. I guess behind us that means the light is very teal, but it's nice little teal coloring here. This is the Google Clips. It is not on right now. I'm going to show you how it works on here in a second. But to turn it on, all I have to do is this. Boop. And then I would place it down here to be on. So this is the Google Clips. That's it. That is the Clips on.
The light blinking means that it's ready?
It means that it's doing its thing. So the light is letting you know it's doing its thing. It's taking constant shots at the moment. You can press it again, and then I believe I'm still actually kind of learning what these symbols mean, to be honest with you. They ran it with me through the setup, but then I kind of forgot. I kind of just been using it as, just pressing a button and hoping that it takes pictures. You can press this button. This is like a manual shutter button. So if you just want to like take a selfie, which I have done, you can. Selfie's not going to look very good though, because this is a 130-degree lens right here. Also, look at how much this thing protrudes out.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it from the photos that were online, but it protrudes out because it's also, a switch for on and off. You don't have to actually turn it on to connect it to your phone, which is nice. So it'll still do the Bluetooth thing and transfer all of your data.
I mean, if it's not connected to the phone, it's just constantly recording to storage inside the device, right? And then the next time
it's not connected to the internet at all.
Nope.
Right?
It's just filing all of that to an internal 16 gigabyte storage drive, whatever's in there. Here's the cute little case that it comes in. You can put it in either way to clip it on yourself or to stand it up. If you've got it in smart capturing mode, it will only take pictures it thinks are worth taking. So usually when it sees like animals and photos and people in the photos, I tried, for instance, to put this on my dash as a sort of dash cam to take some interval photos of the pretty hills on the way here, but it was on smart mode, so it didn't see people.
So it didn't pick appropriately.
Apparently didn't take a picture of the cows either.
So it's way more calibrated for people than it is anything else.
I think it's way more calibrated for working inside of a house. Although I want to see how it works like inside of a car. Like imagine like you have a backseat, road trip, a bunch of people. Because this is the kind of thing that you can just kind of put into the corner and it'll just do whatever. Like it'll just snap photos. And that's exactly what I used it for last week. So before I show you kind of how it syncs with the app, Victor, if you wouldn't mind maestering up the quick little Google Photos album that I put together. So actually started that one of me podcasting. And is motion photo on? Okay, awesome. So if you just want to go through them, Victor, and we'll just kind of motion photo each of them to show. So these are all taken with Google Clips, between 3 to 7 seconds per clip. It really depends on like what's going on in the clip. This is me recording actually the Clock Download podcast last week for Relay FM. This is me working at my parents' house. I know, so glamorous.
Chloe, this is really like revealing these.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just me in my work kimono. You can keep going, Victor, instead of keeping it on this. But I just want to show you just like how dull the photos are if you have nothing. If you have nothing, like you can keep going, Victor.
Well, just think about it this way. These are the most exciting moments of these dull moments in your life.
Yeah.
Right?
So here's me drinking booch. So exciting. Okay, now the next one is this is me hanging out with my brother and my cousin, and we're making dinner. We were listening to music. I was dancing. So you can just cycle through these, Victor. It's like these are just the kind of clips that you make.
It's kind of like a security camera.
It's like a Nest camera. There's no, and it is a lot like a Nest camera. There's no sound to it except like I can't just pop in and listen.
It's
actually,
so
Victor,
weird.
if you refresh the page real quick, I added a couple more after that. Sorry,
at the bottom, I think.
At the bottom, yeah. Start right there.
Some of these are really good.
That one in the middle. There we go. Sorry. I just wanted to show. It took a picture in my purse outside the window.
Because of that.
Because it was on it was on the magic mode.
What's hanging from your rear view mirror? The pink little Pokemon thing that's the little Pac-Man
that's a Ninja Kirby. That's a Ninja Kirby, aka my alter ego behind the wheel. Probably shouldn't say that out loud. If we keep going, I actually put the clip out in front now just to take pictures of me and Jason.
I really hope it didn't capture me picking my nose.
I hope not either.
Oh, it did.
We're good. We're good. We're good.
Look how helpful studio lighting is, by the way.
I know.
So it's like a little security camera, basically. I don't understand.
So I was uploading these over the weekend to my Instagram stories. So they're longer than the traditional motion photos that we would take with the Pixel 2 cameras. Longer than that. The Pixel 2 camera photos usually top out at 3 seconds. Sometimes they're only as long as a second, which makes it really hard to share as an Instagram story, for instance. But like piecing them all together, making this sort of little like montage of like your family's time over. I don't want people to hear the conversations that my family and I are having because we're probably talking about you, quite honestly. You know, I don't want these things on the internet, but I'd love to kind of show the fact that my family and I are getting together for like a little dinner.
Sure. Here's a slice of life.
Here's a slice of life.
And you didn't have to like hold up a phone to capture it. Like that's kind of the beauty of this.
I put this right next to the microwave in my parents' house and I let it just capture us for an hour. And the thing is, it was on the magic mode and it didn't capture us at all while we were all outside sitting on the patio because there's nothing to do in there. Like no animals either. So very quickly, if we just want to go through the app so I can just show over here over the shoulder, it's basically the Google Clips app is Tinder for clips. So if you want to save something, for instance, this is not so exciting. But if you want to save a photo, all you have to do is swipe over to the right to save and swipe over to the left to delete.
Oh, I loved that one though. Why did you get rid of
Sorry.
It's gone.
But the nice thing about it is nobody backed this up into the cloud because I didn't tell it to.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you do save something, which what you can do is you can tap and you can edit photos if you need to. Look, I just discovered you can edit the motion if you want to. That's kind of neat. I just discovered that. Cool. You can delete it if you want to, so it's gone forever, or you can save it to your hard drive. And as soon as you save it, it's going to file it away to Google Photos where it belongs in the timeline. And then it'll upload that if you have upload turned on your Google Photos app. So it's not until you do that these get uploaded to the cloud. Over here, if you toggle this on, you'll see all of the magic photos. Actually, I think these are photos that are on the device. It is worth noting that because I'm having trouble sort of picking out what's going on in the app, I kind of wish there's a little more labeling. I think it's a tiny bit oversimplified app, but I understand why it's that way because we want to make this easy to use and it's supposed to be a simple, like no-brainer, put it in the corner, take photos. But I just want a little bit more hand-holding through this app. Just want to say that. Here in the corner, though, you can see your battery. I don't think the battery it's supposed to last up for 3 hours before you need to charge it, but I had to plug it in like twice while I was at my folks' house over the weekend.
Man, for a standalone thing that you want to set somewhere and capture throughout a given time, 3 hours doesn't seem like very much time.
Well, do you need more than 3 hours? Well, I guess
don't
you're having
know.
a party.
I don't know if you're setting it and forgetting it.
Tells you how full it is in here in the corner.
That's true. I guess you don't need more.
The settings let you set up video quality. You can increase the resolution. You can choose what to save it as. You don't have to save them as motion photos. In fact, you could just save them as an animated GIF if you want to, or a video.
Or video, yeah.
You can set the capture rate. You could set familiar faces. This is a thing that I did not. I'm going to turn it on right now. It's going to download that information from your Google Photos library. So it's going to do all of that. So that's the app. Pretty straightforward. Is this worth $280?
That was my question.
That was $280 after shipping and handling and taxes, by the way.
So,
listen, the HTC Re that came out years ago. You guys remember that?
Periscope.
Oh, I love that design. It looked like an asthma inhaler.
It's still like one of the best little cameras that I've had. You know, I would bring it to family holidays. We would take time lapse. I have time lapse of every Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner I've ever had in the last couple of years since it came out. Now I have a Gear 360, the second version that I use, you know, when we go out into nature because we have 3D video. For this is definitely the kind of like $280 is a lot to spend on on a camera that uses what I sort of believe is the same kind of the same machine learning that's already in the Pixel 2 phone. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm not going to put my Pixel 2 phone up in the corner. I'm going to have it on me the whole time.
Yeah.
I like the whole like novelty of having this. I love the motion photos, so I'm crazy about them. I love to make little albums for me and my family and my friends. We have a lot of Google Photos albums going on now. I've gotten a lot of people on that train to just like create albums where everybody's adding things. And so I like being able to add this kind of stuff to it. I like these photos. And I think my friends are appreciating it too. But as for $280, it's like, it's quite a bit of money. It's kind of pricey to do that right now. Wait until it falls in price or there's a sale, kind of like, you know, how the Google Homes went on sale. And then, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, I feel like the Re is an apt comparison, but if you're looking for one that's a little more recent, the front row camera that I checked out a few months back.
Oh, yeah, I remember. You were wearing it around your neck.
I got an awful lot of, I was life logging, Flo. I was being very hip. And yeah, you could time lapse your whole day with it. You can do all the stuff you can do with Eclipse, you know, and more. It's not as simple. It's not designed to do quite the same stuff, but it can do all of it, and you have an interface right on the device, and you can wear it, or it comes with a stand, you can put it up. It's basically the same exact price. It's $299 right now, I think. And that seems to me, I couldn't find a place for it in my regular life, but it seems to me to be addressing a lot of the same things that Eclipse is trying to do, and I think it's actually, even though it's technically more complicated, I think it gets the job done a lot more easily than Eclipse does. Of course, I've had Eclipse for 25 minutes, so I don't know.
I just really like the direction that we're going in terms of cameras and how we have phones on us that all take pictures, and that at the end of a really fun day out with the friends that maybe you don't see as often as you wish you could, like we all have these memories, and I can see this fitting well into that because it's not taking video, so I don't have to edit anything. It's taking photos in intervals, so it's not taking everything at the same time. And I have all these candid photos. But yeah, like you said, it's a lot of money for that benefit.
For what seems like features that will probably just be features in an upcoming camera on a phone. Like,
yeah, you can buy a cheap point and shoot for $100 at Target. And for a lot of people, that's going to be just as good as having this thing with machine learning. Yeah. But the sheer novelty of this thing, the industrial design of it, the way it matches with the rest of the Google product family, like putting this next to the 3 homes and the Pixel and the design paradigm and the color scheme across them. Like, I see what you're doing, Google, and I think it looks nice. It looks real nice.
See, the thing about that, and I agree with you with the color scheme and the design and stuff like that. I feel like this device is overpriced as it is. It's introducing a new paradigm in photo taking, which I like. I like the idea that instead of holding up the camera or whatever, we're going to put a camera in your house that will grab the moments that you want and all, you know, like Jason, I go back to your Google Glass and you know, with your child and all that sort of stuff. I feel like the second or third iteration of this will be the home run. When they can get the price point down, it's got to be sub $100 if you ask me. It's sub 129 maybe even. It's got to be half the price of what it is now, and it's got to be quick and easy, and it's got to be smarter than you are. You know,
yeah. When you look at those pictures after the fact, you will have to be able to look at those pictures and be like, man, oh, I'm so happy that captured, and not, oh, that's a random thing that happened in my life. Oh, that's a seemingly random, like, I don't know. That is the part that I have a hard time with, is like when you set it up, it's making determinations of what's good to capture. But when you're looking at it, like, are they moments that you would have chosen to capture, or that are really like stand out from the rest, or is it just a random moment?
What I want to see, and that's the thing, is that, like, and also it's got to be positioned in just the right way, especially if we're going to have it around the house. Yeah. You know, and so like how I kind of envision is they take whatever crazy technology with the very small lens and the storage, and be able to put several around the house, and then have the Google AI stitch together a scene or a moment. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that will take more networking and more kind of connection amongst them. But yeah, right?
That's going to happen because already look what they do with your Google Photos. They put together little movies for you. Yeah. You know, AI is doing all of that behind the scenes. And so I imagine it's going to do the same with this. This is just a beginning iteration. It's, you know what? I'm glad I bought it. Neat. I'm going to bring it. I'm going to be bringing it because I'm going to start using it as part of like my social media, because I don't have time to actively be in social media as much as I used to. So this is a nice way to passively do it. Like you have something taking photos for you that you can just post later.
Sure. Which you can use those in your Snapchat spectacles. And
I would use these over Snapchat spectacles. That's why I want this to work like on a bike or on a dash, because I'd like to be able to, take a picture of the pretty hills outside.
Sure, but it won't do that because there's no people in those hills.
Well, maybe it's got to start capturing those cows. Come on, Google Clips.
Come on, work cows into the algorithm.
There's so many of them.
Finally, Michael, you had, well, at least you got to see and play around with a little bit the Planet Computers Gemini. What is this PDA?
Picture, yeah, exactly. Picture,
what is a PDA?
Let's
start there.
Blast from the
where
past.
the PDA never disappeared, right? I wasn't in the UK growing up, but I understand there was a device called the Scion, which looked an awful lot like the thing I have in my hand. Ron, you know it?
I remember that device. Yeah.
I do not. I never saw it. I didn't. But apparently this looks very much like it. And the whole idea is not that it's another smartphone with a keyboard attached, or even like a Moto phone with a keyboard mod. This is more properly thought of as a shrunken laptop. At least that's the intention. It is a self-contained phone. You can use it as a phone. When you close it, you can hold it up to your head, make voice calls. And you can get a camera attachment for it for $50. You can throw a camera on the outside of it. But it is intended to be this thing that you use to create, and specifically to write. So it's very, very narrowly targeted. Some of the folks who, as I understand it, some of the folks who worked on the original Scion, at least on the keyboard, worked on this sort of reincarnation or spiritual successor. And I will tell you, before I get into my actual experience with it so far, the number one use case that I was super amped to use this thing in was on a plane or a bus or a train, when you're sitting there and the guy or gal in front of you reclines their seat and your giant laptop gets either bent in half or crushed or whatever. This is large enough to still type on comfortably and small enough to just kind of fit on any tray or fit in any spot if you put it down. Sadly, one crucial thing about the keyboard was overlooked, which is very important on, say, overnight flights. Would anybody care to take a guess?
Backlit keyboard?
There you go. So it's impossible to see the keyboard in the dark, and the keyboard's too small. And then, of course, the number one response from from the many people on Indiegogo who spoke to me about this was like, hey, no, you're supposed to be touch typing. What's the matter? Yeah, okay, but all the keys have been reorganized, right? So you kind of, it's a bit of a learning curve getting used to this thing. It runs Android. I think it's 7 something or other. It runs other platforms too. You can run Linux on it, some Linux Debian distro, Sailfish 3. Yeah. It's a device built for tweakers and for, people who like to mod. And I think that's probably my favorite thing about it. You can kind of make it what you want. Of course, it comes in multiple colors. You pop in like I said, that camera, the SIM card, all this stuff. I don't know what it's currently running at. I think it's going out to Indiegogo backers right now. It's in its official production run. I am surprised that it got made, but it got, what is this? What's it, $1.9 million raised?
Oh, it's insane now. It's insane. I believe anything can get funded now on these platforms. It's crazy.
I guess. But I mean, I kind of love that. I don't want to toss snark at it, right? Because I appreciate weird stuff. I am much more excited about, I could talk about this for an hour. I could talk about the Galaxy S9 for another 3 minutes. You know what I mean? Like I think the Android world, and to a broader degree the smartphone world, needs stuff like this, because personalization and narrow targeting makes for really, really interesting products, and sometimes it makes for great ones. I don't know if this is a great product, but I know a lot of people are eagerly anticipating theirs. So I'll have a review out sometime soon. Go ahead.
I agree with you, Michael, that I don't want to. I like the fact that Kickstarter and Indiegogo are out there because the crazy ideas get made, right? Yeah. And that's great. I mean, whether or not they succeed in the marketplace is up to the market. But I like the fact that we're in a world where somebody's wacky idea can actually be manufactured and created. You know, I'm working on a project myself right now that's a little bit of a wacky idea, and costs have come down so much, and the ability to manufacture and stuff like that have opened up thanks to China and things like that, that we get stuff like this. And I think that's a great time to be around. They might not be practical, but at least they're interesting. So
yeah,
completely agree. Yeah, it's not consigned to remain some theoretical design sitting on an old forum thread from 10 years ago. You know, it's like, wow, no, we've made this a thing.
It's kind of boutique-ish tech. Bootech.
Indeed.
Bootech. Bootech.
Bootech.net.
TM.
All right.
We'll split it.
Well, should we do a quick email?
Yeah, let's do it, Ron.
All right. So Brett writes in, and Brett says, with all this banana phone talk, I had an epiphany. I need a retro sidekick. The reason Andy Rubin was so successful with the Sidekick is it did things with the phone that no other phone did. This is unlike the Essential, which does a mix of what feature phones do at the same price, but in a mediocre fashion. Is there someone at All About Android who can let someone at Essential know that if there was a Sidekick functioning device with an iPhone SE footprint, but with a Sidekick functionality and Essential design, I'd be sold. If they partner with T-Mobile and market as a companion to a smartphone as a digits number share, it would be a hit in my opinion. And I don't know if I agree with Brett that would be a hit, but I agree with him in concept that the Sidekick was not a great phone, but it changed the paradigm of phones, right? And that's what I think is sorely lacking in the space right now. Is a lot of iteration on subtleties in the design and things like that. A lot of focus on software, but no one's changing the game.
So hard to change the game right now. I know. We've been lulled into this moment of thinking that we know what the phones actually are, and it's hard to think outside. That's why the Gemini is kind of a prime example of that. There may have been a time when that wasn't also ran and looked like everything else, but right now is not that time. That does not look like everything else. That looks very different. It's it's taking a look at what we have in technology and what our needs are, and it's not addressing it for everybody, but it's trying something new, and you can appreciate that about it. How do you think a Sidekick of the modern era, like Sidekick comes back, how do you think that would do? No?
Right. It would have to depend on how willing people were to re-embrace physical keyboards, right? And I think we saw from the BlackBerry Key 1 that while it sold much better than I think anyone anticipated, and certainly it appeared to sell more than BlackBerry anticipated. I think they wanted to launch it in one market, and they ended up launching it in every market. It's still, I think it didn't break 1 million units, right? Or all of their sales for last year didn't break 1 million units, or whatever that metric was. So I think a modern Sidekick would be consigned to niche status, but maybe there are enough people out there to make it at least healthy. Does everything have to be a blockbuster, right?
Right. Do we live in this fractured world where little niche things could do well? I think that not something Sidekicky would do well, but I think something closer to what Samsung's doing with DeX in terms of portability and leaning on the computer aspect, and or maybe some sort of projection or some sort of like virtual keyboard, kind of like a different way of thinking about it. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. The point that you just made, Michael, about like, do these devices have to be blockbuster hits or whatever? Again, the Gemini is a really great example of that, right? We were just looking at it. Almost $2 million in funds raised. But when you go down through each of those individual components, like the blocks that you can actually bid into, probably not more than like 1,500 people have claimed the Gemini. So it's kind of like that. If you have 1,000 true fans, then you can be successful,
realize the dream, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You don't need millions upon millions upon millions of fans of something. You just need enough people that are so incentivized that they get in on it. 2 million's not a bad, $2 million is not a bad number for a niche product like the Gemini. And all they had to do was find a small amount of people that were willing to pay them money for it. So, I don't know. That's kind of nice. I wonder what the support would be long term on that sort of thing, but
we'll have to see.
I don't know if it says
Kickstarter usually tells you how many people,
how many total. Yeah, like one group 127 claimed, 18 claimed, 651. It's not like there's thousands upon thousands in these groups. They're all triple digits at the most. So it doesn't take a lot to make a lot, I guess.
Yeah. You got to be careful still. On the flip side of this, I'm still waiting for my Runcible from 2 or 3 years ago, man. So
the Runcible phone.
You remember that?
No, I
the
don't.
pocket watch, the circular screened pocket watch looking phone with a wooden back. At first it ran Firefox OS, and then that fell apart, and then it ran a weird Android build. And
open source anti-smartphone.
Indeed. I'm gonna carry it. If it ever gets made, I'm gonna carry it. I mean, if it doesn't get made, I want my $1,000 back or whatever it was.
Hey, he's the project owners in Berkeley. We should go knock on the door. What happened to your Runcible?
Hey, can I see the Runcible?
Why are you not answering tweets?
Yeah.
No, but they're one of these projects that is not very good at communication, but then every so often in a long while, they'll come back and, hey, we're still working on this. We just suck at communicating. Sorry.
Right.
Well, that was the case with the Jelly phone, which eventually did show up to my
It did, and it's
home.
so cute.
I have another
tiny
phone
Jelly
coming, by the way.
That's a thing.
Yeah?
Yes, I forgot what it's named, but it's like a tiny, tiny little phone with tiny, tiny little numbers. I'll bring it in when it gets here.
Cool. All right, Ron, you got the ad.
Yes. So this episode of All About Android is brought to you by FreshBooks. And listen, tax season is a stressful time for freelancers and small business owners. But listen, it doesn't have to be, all right? You can fight your tax fears with FreshBooks, the easy-to-use cloud accounting software for small business owners. Their intuitive dashboard will give you quick access to your spending, outstanding balances, total profit, and other accounting reports so you'll know how you're doing at any given moment. And FreshBooks automatically connects to your bank account and updates expenses daily. With FreshBooks, you can send professional-looking invoices in seconds and save time by accepting credit cards online and get paid an average of 2 times faster. When you're a freelancer, getting paid is the name of the game, and FreshBooks helps you get your money quicker. So no more chasing clients for payments or waiting in line at the bank. You can accept credit card payments directly from your invoice. You can see what invoices have been sent, viewed, and paid, as well as overdue and outstanding invoice totals. You can create amazing proposals with rich text content, images, customizable sections, and more. And FreshBooks makes it easy to bill for time by clients and by specific project. FreshBooks recently added Spanish and Dutch languages as options for invoices, estimates, and proposals. So if you speak Spanish or Dutch, guess what? Get on FreshBooks. And with the FreshBooks app, you can stay connected to your clients and keep tabs on your business no matter where you are. You can take a picture of a receipt, upload it, and let FreshBooks do the rest. FreshBooks recently added a dashboard view to the FreshBooks Android app, and it is awesome. Definitely check it out, Android people. You know it. So you can set yourself up for a stress-free tax season next year with FreshBooks. From payment reminders to late fees, automate as much or as little as you'd like and get back to doing what you love. And I know several people who are active users of FreshBooks. They're freelancers. It lets them focus on their business and keep all the money stuff in good order and doesn't get in the way of doing the stuff that they love. FreshBooks is amazing. So try it free for 30 days at freshbooks.com/AAA and enter All About Android in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Remember, that's freshbooks.com/AAA and let them know you heard about it from All About Android in that little How'd You Hear About Us section. And that's freshbooks.com/AAA, and we thank them for their support. Yay, FreshBooks. Thanks.
Thank you, FreshBooks. All right. We've got a few quick hits in the app news segment. That's what we'll do right now. Starting with a little bit of the lens.
This is exciting. So if you've got Google Photos, you've got Google Lens.
That's it.
That's it.
There it is.
Everybody has
that's
Lens
it.
now.
There's a little icon at the bottom that you can press on every individual picture, and it'll give you information. I just did a quick one over here, Victor, if you wouldn't mind, and over the shoulder of my cat, my beautiful, beautiful cat. Her name's Gabriella. She's the most beautiful creature on earth. I don't care what you say. She's beautiful. I did a little Google Lens preview on her, and apparently it's giving me her breed. She's either a Squinton, a Norwegian forest cat, an Asian cat, or an Ojos Azules, which means blue eyes. She does not have blue eyes, though. Anyway, or I can search for her on Google, which is apparently a thing. And it just brings me images of rabbits. All right, so there's Google Lens for you. Done.
Lens.
I was gonna say, I mean, that's impressive. Like, I like that your first stage of cat results was great. But if it can't identify a Klingon bird of prey, what good is it? For real? I mean, come on. guys.
I'm right there with you.
Hey,
Jeez.
just so you guys know, this feature works really well with business cards. So if you've got text that you want to file away into maybe a Google Keep file, or maybe you want to copy and paste into a Google Doc, you can do that using Google Lens, extract the text, and then just highlight and copy and paste.
Oh, okay. That's a good tip.
So, tip.
Yeah, I just have not used Lens very much for anything at all.
Me
And
either.
definitely not in photos. I have it up here. This one will probably work, though. This is like made to work. We'll go ahead and hit the Lens, and it'll scan. And, hey, what do you know? It pulls up, well, I don't know if it's the exact same thing, but I could order some delicious treats.
Those googly eyes.
Huh? Oh. The
I want to try
Cadbury
this.
Dairy Milk Giant Buttons chocolate bag.
works in
119
Polish
grams. All right, so that kind of worked.
Google Lens.
Yeah. There you go.
Go use it inside photos.
This is pretty cool. So you can't see it because I'm in New York and you're not here. But I have a picture of the little diorama of the Rocinante, the ship from The Expanse.
Oh, nice.
And it picked up Rocinante and told me it's the name of Don Quixote's horse, which it is. So it totally
That's pretty
detected
good.
that. That was very good. It did not pick up The Expanse or the word ship or anything else, but it gave me a contextually correct answer, albeit the wrong answer. But still, that's pretty cool.
No one's getting perfectly right with this one, but
Yes.
hey, it's
right.
beta.
Machine
as with
learning. It's
everything.
learning.
This is interesting news. We've all, at one point in our Android lives, used Tasker.
Especially now
especially now.
that I've got IoT in the home.
Oh well, yeah. Tasker is kind of made for that sort of stuff. It's all about automating, right?
Flo, it sounds like you got a problem. I got IoT in the home. It says I got the black mold. I got the IoT. I got the.
Oh man, I'm having such a horrible year. I've got IoT in the home. Tasker.
Well, yeah. I used it for Halloween decorations last year to trigger a
That's
sound
right.
every time the
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
the motion sensor would notice a kid coming up to get candy.
Well, you can use Tasker to automate everything, and apparently the developer, where is his name? Pent, who's the original developer of Tasker, posted in the Tasker Google group that Zhao OMG CD, I think is how you pronounce that. I'm not really quite sure.
Oh my God, ZD.
Oh my God, CD.
That's how I feel like it's supposed to be
developer of
pronounced.
Join and Auto apps. He's actually developed a bunch of kind of plug-in apps for Tasker. That,
Oh yeah,
that people,
I've used those as well.
Yes, they're very popular.
It's very hard to use.
Pent has transferred ownership of Tasker over to Zhao Diaz, and he's going to develop that going forward. He's super excited to take up the cause, and basically Pent admitted that he realized it was his time in his life to update was slim. It needed more attention. He'd done 8 years of updates and work on this app, and it's time to kind of pass the torch to someone who is deserving of receiving it. And by all accounts, it looks like this person that's getting it is going to give it the attention that it deserves.
Good, because I have to say, with this whole smart home war that's brewing in the world, for those who might not know, last week, for instance, Amazon bought Ring.
Yep.
So that happened.
It was a sponsor on the Twit Network, by the
there's
way.
no YouTube on Amazon Fire Sticks, so that's just going to, become more of a thing. But a lot of things people are worried about is that with all of this, they're going to lose cross-platform compatibility. And those of us who are already in the throes of the smart home,
Yeah.
we don't want that.
Oh man,
So
don't want that at all.
Tasker's really good because it can fill in the blanks where some third-party apps can't, as long as you're willing to put in the work. And I like that the whole ecosystem of apps that was basically created for it, because all these apps, auto notification, auto input, auto voice, they were made to sort of plug into Tasker. So it's going to make it a nice little suite. I can imagine, if they wanted to do more with this, they could, especially now with this being the hot thing. Like if they wanted to do more for this and kind of say, hey, Android people, look how much we can do with our phones and smart home.
Take your smart home into your own hands with Tasker.
That's
Something like
exactly.
that. You can have that.
Just take it.
Jason, you missed the career in marketing, man. You're
Yeah.
so there.
Yeah. Not to mention voiceover.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I have done a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Not as much as God. Who's the guest that comes on all the time and who does all the voiceover stuff?
Mark Hamill.
Juan
Yes,
Bagnell.
Juan Bagnell.
Not as much as Juan.
Yeah.
Juan has a career in it, basically.
Yeah.
Anyways, good to see Tasker will get some renewed attention. Ron, you got the next one.
Yes. So we all like music, and a lot of you like music seem to use Spotify. Well, guess what? Spotify is cracking down on apps that game their system to remove ads from free accounts, like Spotify Dog Food. Basically, modded versions of Spotify that remove restrictions from free accounts. Then Spotify sent emails to people using those apps after detecting abnormal activity in the app. These apps removed restrictions like song skip limitations and things like that. And I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but Spotify did announce its plans to go public last week. So this sure sounds like they're cleaning up their house before they make their initial public offering.
Kind of feels like it, huh?
They're having guests over. You got to clean the house.
Yeah.
Gotta clean the house.
Got to make it spotless.
Make it
If you
nice.
are-
Spotify list.
Make it nice.
If you are scamming Spotify, you might want to stop.
Yeah.
Pay for your music. Pay for
It's
art.
2018. Pay for it.
Yeah.
I was just going
God.
to say, I mean, considering how little of the money actually goes to the artist in the first place, I
Exactly.
have very little, I've a lot of trouble scaring up any sympathy for these people who are going to get cracked down on.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you enjoy music, go see them live, buy T-shirts because that really helps them.
Yeah.
Word.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any Spotify users in the house right now, or we all play music?
I
Oh,
was listening
yeah.
to it on the way here. My whole library is Spotify.
Me too. Yeah.
Oh, so we're 50-50.
Google Play Music.
Yeah, play music.
Although, let me tell you
Yeah,
about
I
Google
jump
Play
to iOS
Music.
sometimes.
Let me complain about Google Play Music. It's 2018, and I still don't have sort albums by release year.
Oh, yes. I completely agree.
It just
You're
reminded me of all
Google.
the old music I have in my Google Play Music
Yeah,
library.
why is that not a thing? That's so weird you point that out. That would
can we
totally
do
be
a-
awesome. Why?
I know that we're doing next week. We're doing the What's in Your Feed segment,
Yes.
which I'm very excited for.
Got
Can
it
we
in the
do like
calendar.
Can we do with Jason maybe in April when you're back? Can we do like a state of music apps or something like that? Because I feel like there's
Yes.
lots that we could discuss.
Yes, and then I could talk
Like a
about
theme?
my favorite.
Maybe we do like a theme episode, state of music. We do the news, we don't do hardware, and then the arena is a music themed arena.
Okay.
I'm just
I like
spitballing.
it. I like where you're going with this.
See, the beauty is we've got a calendar, so all
and
I
then
have to do
we'll
is
have
write
chili
is hit
for
enter.
dinner after the show with fresh cornbread.
There you go. Great.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on. Let's do an
That was a
email.
curveball, but okay.
Moving on to our last email of the night. I'm going to make this one quick. In light of the fact that MoviePass may win this week's last week's poll, I thought I'd send you this article about the level of data collection the app provides.
We talked a little bit about it.
We did talk about it.
Wah.
And actually, this did come up this morning. I got lots of links from it. My friends and I, who started a little movie club, started going, oh no, did you hear about this location thing? So basically, what happened very quickly is the CEO of MoviePass, Mitch Lowe, he said, we know all about you. Data's the new oil. He said, we know all about you in an article titled, Data's the New Oil. How will MoviePass monetize it?
Yeah, he was speaking at a keynote.
Yes, he said, we get enormous amounts of information, noting that the company knows subscribers' addresses and can glean demographic information based on where they live. The company can also track subs via the app and phone GPS. We watch how you drive from home to the movies, he said. We watch where you go afterwards. So thanks, Chad, for telling us about this. It was big news today, but good news. If you're an iOS or Android user, you can disable location services while you're not using the app. And then when you jump back into the app and you're near the movie theater, it'll ask you to enable location services. And you could just do that and just remember to go back and turn it off.
Well, I would imagine on Android you could go into the app's permission settings and just
Yeah, that's what I did.
and just cut it off from location entirely.
Yeah, but it needs your location because you have to be within 100 meters.
when you're
feet
there, it has
of,
to know that you're actually there.
Yeah.
And
So
got
you
it.
are going to have to do that annoying thing, but until then, just go into the settings. Sorry.
It is kind of interesting how cavalier Mitch was in this keynote. Like, we know all about you. We know everything. We know where you go after you leave the movie theater. We know what you're eating inside of the... No, he didn't say that. But he...
Popcorn and peanut
Unashamed.
M&Ms, and then I put the peanut M&Ms in the popcorn and mix them up.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I have a feeling. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for the new Wreck-It Ralph movie where Ralph breaks the internet.
No.
But I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of in the trailer. At least there was internet advertising jokes, and I gotta imagine there's going to be a lot of them packed into that movie. So
this is the first time even hearing that is a thing that exists.
Yeah, the sequel's coming out.
Oh wow,
it's coming out later. I think November. It looks like
Ralph going to be awesome.
Ralph breaks the internet. Yeah, I think it's going to be right up our collective alley. So
nice.
Yeah.
And then they'll know where I'm going afterwards. Guess where I am going? Buca di Beppo. All you can eat spaghetti.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going, Flo. You know where you're going?
The arena?
We're all going to the arena.
Yes.
Let's go.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
I want spaghetti now. I want a full plate of spaghetti.
Buca di Beppo's fun. Every once in a while. Very rarely, but every once in a while. Last week's episode was 358. You placed your vote, I hope, for your favorite app. And it turns out, finally, I got a win. Signal Spy wins at 44%.
Awesome.
Second place, MoviePass, very close, 41%.
Good deal.
Second place. And Star Skater, third place at 15%. You have to forgive Daniel. He was operating on no sleep. Well,
that's fair.
Slim sleep. It was 4 o'clock in the morning at that point.
So I got to tell you, this marks an amazing moment in arena history, though.
Really?
Because with those results, thanks to Wade County in the chat room for keeping track of this, through 9 weeks of the arena, guests are in lead with 28 points. So Michael, you are representing the leaders with 28 points. All three of us are tied with 19.
What?
Wow.
That's all it took?
Can you believe that?
Been in last place for a long time, and now we're tied for second. Okay.
The combination of you getting a first place and me skipping last week and Flo being Flo,
wow,
means that we are tied at 19 points.
What if we all win?
We can do this. We can do this, folks.
It'd be like the millennial dream. Everyone gets an award.
Do you feel pressure, Michael? Do you?
I do now. I look forward to ruining it for the guest team. Yeah.
Well, you're not going to ruin it tonight because the guests having 9-point lead is going to take at least 2 weeks. So, yeah.
It's true.
Dang. Never too late to start.
Yep.
So, Ron, I guess you were out. So why don't you start?
I was out, so I'm going to start. And my arena app is going to be quick because we can't actually show it, but I'm going to sell a lot of you in the audience on it. So the idea of texting from the desktop through your phone is not a new one. Push Bullet kind of paved the way a few years ago, but a lot of you don't want to pay your developers, which, going back to what we said about musicians, is bad. I have no problem paying for Push Bullet, but if you're looking for a free desktop to SMS option, check out Text2. TEXTTO, and basically it's an app that installs on your phone. You enable some accessibility options, and then you go to either their website or they're starting to build out desktop applications, and you can see your entire SMS contacts on your desktop, and you can text them directly. Never pick up your phone. So if you're sitting in an office environment during work or school, you're on your computer a lot, you can't really take your phone out and respond to that text. You can use Text2 to send it. It's amazing. You log into the app via your Google account. So I logged in through one of my Google accounts. You log into the web app via your Google account. That's how it handles the sync. And it works like magic. I've been using this for the past couple of days. It's really pretty cool. The desktop app lets you customize the design or the theme. They've got a light and a dark theme, but then you can change the colors of the bubbles and all that sort of stuff. And it is so ridiculously easy, and it's free. Your favorite type of app, Android user, as we've seen in the numbers. So it's Text2, free in the Google Play Store. Text people from the desktop for free.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, and the app works really well. It just, it really just reminds me of kind of what you do with Allo in order to get it to work on the desktop, right? Like you do a quick sync, and then you've got it all up there in a browser, and you just kind of leave that open, and as you're working, when you need it, you just drop your SMS in there, and it sends it.
I got to tell you, somebody who moved to when I've been using Push Bullet, I've been using WhatsApp on the desktop. I never touch my phone during the day, pretty much. It's like I am addicted to doing it all through the desktop because I'm at a desk, I'm working on my computer, blah, blah, blah. And Text2, just the fact that it takes whatever we love about Push Bullet and does it for free. And honestly, I'll nudge the Push Bullet guys a little bit. the design is a little more modern. It's a little more polished. It's a little slicker. I feel like it's a little competition, influences positively. A rising tide raises all boats. So check out Text 2.
Text 2. All right. Good pick. And Flo, you're up next.
I brought a silly little tool app. I like to always look for silly apps that let me do silly things. So today I brought Simple Text. Stylish Text, not Simple Text. Stylish Text.
Different.
Different. It is a free app, and all it does is let you type silly things. With ads. And there are ads that pop up. But you know what? You're not going to use this like all the time, so it's okay if you have to deal with an ad once in a while.
Sure you can remove them too.
It's basically all the special little characters that are hiding that your phone can display.
Oh, so this is what those people do that
Yes.
are like typing out things in combinations of characters that I'm always like, how do you know where those exist?
Yes.
How did you do this?
You can paste them into any app that accepts this sort of character. It depends on the app if they have, all the font libraries installed. And so it's super easy. You can favorite your favorite. You can favorite your favorite. When you're ready to paste it somewhere, you just copy it to clipboard, and then it's ready to paste. So I'm going to show you very quickly how to paste it inside of a Google Keep file. We're going to just show that real quick. All right. Thank you, Victor. Very helpful so that we don't see my precious notes. Hello.
That's a different looking hello.
That's it. Stylish text. That's all. That's all I brought today.
Nice. Sometimes you just need a tool that does the thing you need it to do. And that's what stylish text is.
It's just because I play on the internet all the time, and this just reminds me of early 2000s internet, which I kind of miss.
Don't we all?
I mean, nostalgia.
All right, so that's stylish text, and that is free. Michael, you are up next. Now, yours is for Samsung devices. I don't have a Samsung device with me, so we have the site, but you can tell us all about it.
Fun fact about that, apparently, that's not entirely true.
Oh?
Which I didn't know. Otherwise, I would have corrected you before. So here's the thing. This is an app called Thrive, which, yes, does show up as a sort of Samsung exclusive thing. Apparently, I'm in the beta test group for it. I don't know how that happened. I sort of don't have a memory that works right. But when you guys asked me before whether I was a Maps contributor, what is it called? A Maps guide?
Local guides.
Local guide.
Local guide. And I was like, no, because I get those notifications and I immediately turn them off because I get 50 billion notifications every 2 minutes, as I'm sure you guys also do. And it's like, sometimes I just really have to turn them all off. And there are a variety of phones that have tried to get funded and haven't. There's a variety of apps you can use to do this. Samsung Thrive, which is also made by a company called Thrive Global, which might be fully owned by Samsung, but you can find it in the App Store. It's still in beta, and it just lets you push a button. You fire up the app, you hit begin, and then you select exactly how long you don't want to be disturbed for. You can go from, I think, like 1 minute all the way up to 24 hours. And when you enable it and press begin, all of your notifications will be intercepted. You will not be bothered by any of them. You can let VIP contacts through if you want people to get a hold of you. And you can even set an answering machine message, which I used to have back on like a Palm Trio back in 2005, which was a lot of fun. If I was in the shower and expecting a text message that I didn't want to miss, I could say, I'll get back to you soon, and then it would auto respond. This is one of the few apps I've found that can replicate that functionality. I think it's been a little inconsistent in my usage since I use the Google Voice app. It didn't know what to do with that initially. You sort of have to train it to do what you want. And then when you go to end your session, it's like, are you sure you want to end your session? You still have 23 hours and 59 minutes left of peace. And I say yes, and then it asks me to tell it what I was doing that time. Was I spending time with family? Yeah. Don't you want to stay in this nice bubble? It's lovely.
How'd it go? What did you do without me?
How was that? Yeah. And you can it'll break down what apps you use more so than others, how often you spend, and say Bacon Reader, and say like maybe reconsider your choices. Maybe just spend more time off your phone. So it's called Thrive. I don't know if you have to do anything special to get into the beta. but you do not need a Samsung device to use it, because I just installed it on the Planet Gemini. So
wow, that's weird. I do
it?
a search for it on the Pixel 2 XL, and it won't show it to me no matter what I do.
It's in the Galaxy App Store.
Well,
no, but it's in the Google Play Store as well.
There's a version of it that's just the Play Store. So it's it must be just
maybe
certain
Samsung's
devices.
getting the exclusive.
It's very possible. It's actually when it installs on a non-Samsung device, it does show up as Thrive for Samsung.
Yeah,
So-
JJ found it in the chat room and posted it. But man, when I search for that on my Pixel, it doesn't allow me to find it. I wonder if it'll even allow me to install it on there. But anyways, it's called Thrive. Do a search for Thrive Global if you want to find it in the Play Store, or thriveapp.thriveglobal.com if you'll want to go to the Samsung version of it for the Samsung store. Cool. Good pick.
Indeed.
My app. Okay. Let's go back in time just a few weeks when I was still on the iPhone 10. One of the things that I did like about the iPhone 10 in my time with it was that the built-in alarm clock had this bedtime feature that at first I didn't understand, but then I eventually grew to love. And one of the things, it sounds like the most simple thing in the world. One of the things I really loved about it is you told it how much time was your ideal amount of sleep, and you told it the time that you have to wake up in the morning, and it would check in with you about a half an hour prior to when your bedtime would need to be in order for you to get your ideal amount of sleep. And I found that to be really actually very useful to me, because I'd be in my my 11 o'clock
Post-work zone,
putzing around on the internet or doing work or whatever, and then I get this notification that's like, in a half an hour it's time to go to bed. And that would totally switch my way of thinking, and it would actually, I would get to bed on time instead of staying up until 12:30 and being tired the next day. So when I switched back over to Android, I wanted to find an app that at least gave me that bedtime notification, and a very, you guys have all heard of this app. It's called Sleep is Android. It has not been in the Arena. I used our fancy tool, and it did not show it. And I'm very surprised that it hasn't.
I thought I brought it to Arena, which is why I never brought it.
Yeah, I know. There's all these little secret hidden gems in there that have not been brought to the Arena, even though you may think that they have. But anyways, it's a great alarm clock app, and I've actually really enjoyed getting into it and everything. It does a lot more than just alarm clock.
Wow,
right?
they remodeled it.
Yeah, they've updated the view of it. You got little material design splashes throughout and everything. But Sleep is Android is an alarm clock app first and foremost, right? Like you can set your alarm however you like, whatever days. You can also set it so that when you're waking up, you have different things like a CAPTCHA or this smart period here, which can kind of analyze your sleep as you're sleeping and smartly wake you up within the right sleep phase, if that makes sense. I kind of set that to 10 minutes because I don't want a whole lot of
REM.
Yes, exactly. But what's kind of cool about that, right? Like, is when I go to bed, there's this little button down here. I hit that, and now it's sleep tracking. It turns off the wireless signal on my phone while I'm going until I wake up the next morning. I set it down so that my microphone's kind of facing the bed, and it actually tracks the noise that you make throughout the night to understand if you're getting a good night's sleep, and to kind of give you a little bit of indication. Of course, I'm talking right now, so it's like, what are you doing? You're not sleeping very well right now. Let me stop that. Delete it. But what you end up with day after day is this kind of like graph that kind of shows you how much deep sleep you got. 51% of my sleep last night was what it would consider deep. I did not snore, so that's good. I don't usually snore, but you never know. And then you can rate it if you really want to get detailed in there and actually kind of place some metrics around your actual sleep. But getting back to the bedtime feature, that is something that you have access to. Bedtime notification, ideal daily sleep income, 7 hours. You can set that, and then every night, based on what my alarm is set for, I end up getting a little notification. It kind of pings me and says, hey, it's time to think about getting ready for bed. And for whatever reason, that's worked really, really well for me. So that's just one of the many features. There's obviously a lot of stuff. You can sync it to Android Wear. So if you're wearing a Wear device, it can kind of help track your sleep at more detail while you're sleeping. There's a lot of that kind of quantified self sort of stuff. You can record your sleep so that later you can hear what you sound like on those moments where you're really disrupted in sleep. You can go back and check it out.
Or if you're talking in your sleep.
Maybe you're talking, or sleep apnea, or whatever the case may be. But it's an interesting alarm clock app. I've actually and the other part that I really like about it is that the alarm in the morning is not this rigid like sort of thing, because I hate waking up like that. Oh, yeah. It has a lot of really gentle kind of slow wake options that fade in from quiet and everything like that. And that's just how I like to wake up. That works for me. And you've got those options here too. So it's called Sleep as Android. Whole bunch more functions that I have not detailed here. You can get a free version or pay for the pro version, $3.99. And manage your sleep quality.
I used to use it to it'll give me a little math quiz.
Yeah.
So I could turn off the alarm.
Yep.
To get your brain up.
Yeah.
When you need to wake up.
I have to think.
Yep. So that's it. Sleep as Android. And with that, we have 4 apps for you to pick your favorite from. twit.to/AAA poll 359. That's twit.to/AAA poll 359. Is your favorite app of the week? Is it Thrive for Samsung, Stylish Text, Text 2, or Sleep as Android? Place your vote. We'll check in on it next week.
All right.
Text
Victor
2
wants to use SMS. Well, you know what? I completely
It's a good
agree.
vote.
I agree.
It's a good vote.
It's a solid vote. Solid pick, Victor.
Solid.
Bravo, Victor.
That's his new nickname. Solid pick, Victor.
Yeah.
All solid pick, Victor.
Yeah.
I don't know if you like that name very much. That's your new name for just this
Please
episode.
veto. Always veto
Yes.
if you don't like.
It's okay. I won't be offended.
Cool.
Thanks, I think. But that's it. Michael, we've taken up plenty of your time. We've gone 12 minutes over 7, and I do apologize about that, but we really appreciate you taking time out of your night to join us and hang out.
I am always happy to hang out with all of y'all. Thank you very much for having me, and I apologize to all the guests in the future for starting the downslope, because this is it. This is you guys are coming back, so you're welcome.
Well, thank you for allowing us to return to greatness. No, you just never know with this voting mechanism that we've got going on right now, the scoring mechanism.
We've got so many more weeks ahead of us.
Yeah. We're good. We're good on time. I don't think you have to worry about that, Michael. YouTube.com/TheMrMobile. Is that where you want people to go to find all your awesome stuff?
Please do. It's actually the Mr. Mobile everywhere. So it's TheMrMobile. No matter where you go, that's where I'm at, except for Snapchat, which I don't use anymore. Sorry, Flo.
I noticed.
I know. I like that you're holding down the fort.
I totally am. It's just me.
Yeah. It's a good time though. You're doing a great job. But yeah, come pay me a visit. It's a great time.
Was that just you like a long time ago?
It sure was in a Medico Key and Locksmith commercial. I was the bad guy. I was break into your house.
No
on Medico locks. Oh yeah, it's a great
great.
time. Send you the
awesome.
link. Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you, Michael. It's always fun having Mr. Mobile on the show. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Always great to be here, guys. Thank you.
You bet. Ron, thank you. We always appreciate having Ronkso on the show.
My pleasure. That's why I'm here. I love doing the show. It's the highlight of my week. Go follow me on Twitter and on Facebook. Not Facebook. Well, I am on Facebook, but Twitter and Instagram. I am at RonXO there. You can find me there. You can see my nonsense posts, as well as on Instagram. I posted photos every night at the Jawbreaker shows last week, including when I wasn't doing the show. And I took them with the Pixel, and they came out pretty good. Going back to our phone camera conversation for a couple weeks ago, I zoomed in on all those photos. I was standing much further back in the venue than it appeared to be on Instagram, thanks to digital zoom. So there you go.
Thanks to digital zoom, I can see my favorite musicians on stage that I've already paid money to see.
Yes.
That looks pretty good. The digital zoom looks...
Yeah. Oh,
there
that
was
is
one
really
of them.
good.
There was one that was really good. There was one where I was like, oh, that was that came out very good. Yeah, no, I was not that close at all. If you go back to night 2, I think that was the one that was really good. That one, the blue one, the blue one
does look good.
Yeah. That one came out very good. Yeah, so
Looks
good stuff. Fun time.
Cool. Well, thank you, Ron. And we will talk to you, of course, again next week. Hopefully you get that package.
Yes, I can't wait.
What about it, you, Flo? What you up to? What's going on in the Flo world?
Well, Flo's got a lot of stuff she's working on right now, so you're not going to see anything from me for a little bit, but hang tight. It'll be there. For now, just follow me on Twitter at @OhThatFlo.
You're like the groundhog. You'll come out when.
Well, freelancing, it's like you go into a hole, you come out with like a million articles, and you go back into the hole and write a bunch, and then you come out with a million articles,
Now, that sounds
kind of
stressful.
how it is.
Sounds really stressful.
Yeah, I mean, no, not necessarily.
It is what it is.
Not necessarily.
You're rocking it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I could do the freelance world. That'd be really stressful for me. Victor, thank you so much for everything that you do here.
Always and forever.
Always and forever. We appreciate you. Thank you. Let's see here. yellowgoldmusic.com. I'm actually I sent off to the CD press today for the Kickstarter.
Yes.
So if you back the Kickstarter, wheels are finally in motion on that. And then eventually beyond,
it looks awesome.
Yeah, the art. I'm really stoked on the art. Scott Johnson,
awesome,
who's a friend of the network, did art along with my friend Ben Minter, and we kind of mashed it together and came up with something even epicer. So, anyways, I'm stoked to. Is that a word?
Can that be the name of your next album? Even epicer?
Yeah,
epicer.
It's okay. You can
the epicer.
use whatever word you want when you're talking about your own music.
That's true. I'll have to remember that. The epicer. Twit flash briefing. If you didn't know and you have an Echo device, Canada, Australia, the UK, India, all now can get the flash briefing. So you can do that. Just go into the Amazon app, the Alexa app, and under flash briefing, look for Twit, and you can activate that. Also, it's time for our yearly Twit survey. So we want to hear from you. Twit.tv/survey. You can let us know what you like, what you don't like, all the stuff. Tell us how we can better serve you with our content. And that is it for this week. Leave us a voicemail, 347-SHOW-AAA. Send us emails at AAA@twit.tv. You can find us on Twitter at Android Show. You can find our subreddit at twitaaa.reddit.com. Show notes and past episodes can be found at twit.tv/AAA. You can also watch us live, both in studio if you email tickets at twit.tv, or probably what you're going to do, watch us live on the stream every Tuesday starting at 5 p.m. Pacific at twit.tv/live. That is it for this week. We'll see y'all next week on another episode of All About Android. Bye, everybody. See you, Michael.
Oh, well.